Coach Traylor. Use the raise hand function to ask questions, and I'll call on you. JJ?
Jeff, after watching film from the last game, what were your biggest takeaways of what happened in the second half?
Oh, I think momentum got away from us, and we're not good enough right now on the road. When the momentum gets going, we're not good enough. And I could sit here all day and go through the specific plays, but as a general statement, momentum got away from us.
Was that fumble to start the third quarter kind of where you think it started to go away?
I would say that's exactly where it started. We had an MA on the backside, unexplainable, and one player not ready to go, and it makes it like the whole team's not ready to go. And but let's not. You got to be careful when you start doing that kind of stuff, because then you say one play cost you the game, and we didn't execute on 2nd and 1, we didn't execute on 3rd and 1, we didn't execute on 4th and 1. I mean, there's just so much. I know, as a fan, and trust me, I'm a fan of teams too. You always want to go back to this and that, and that every play matters, every one of them. And Owen McCowan set the school record, but if you were to ask him right now, when he missed the pop pass on 2nd and 1 to Houston wide open, he'll tell you that play cost us the game. You start doing that, you just got to be careful. But to your question, JJ, about momentum, I would say that's what gave them belief. But then we went down and answered and made it 42-17, and we busted in the secondary, and they went on one play and scored. I think that play is as much what got it going as anything. We had kind of put it back down. Our offense did a great job, drive down the field, go up 42-17, and if I had to push back on your take of that being the play, I would say that would be the one, because we stopped the momentum, if that makes sense what I'm saying. We had killed it.
Greg?
Jeff, what are the biggest factors preventing UTSA's offense from being able to get the run game going at a higher level?
We're just not physically winning our battles up front. When you lose 3 all-conference linemen, that's just hard to overcome. And Corey's playing, on basically one leg and giving me all he's got out there at right guard, and nobody wants to hear the excuses, but I can give you a reason for each one of those spots, but we're just not winning physically up front.
On the defensive side, it seems like the big passing play popped up again in this game and has popped up through the season. Is there something that you can do to address that, or how do you work towards patching that up?
Well, you had the one, 2 of them were miscommunications, and the other 3, that were just crucial. You got to give Tulsa some credit on making some plays.
Is there anything you do through the week to try to address that in particular, or ways you guys focus on the big play through the season?
It's just always, it's always just one thing or another, Greg. We work on that quite a bit, and we focus on that quite a bit.
How does a stretch of results like this test the culture that you guys preach every day?
Whenever things don't go well, whether that's your family, whether that's your church, your community, your business, not every day is a win, Bubba. And you got to be able to handle those days. It's part of life.
Is there something you do in particular to try to keep the players engaged in the day-to-day process, or to make sure that things are still going in the direction that you feel good about?
Our guys are engaged. Our guys play their tails off every weekend. We've won all these games for 5 years, and now we're going through a little bit of a stretch where we're not winning some close games. But it's nothing to do with culture. It's nothing to do with players' focus. They bust their ass every single Saturday.
What is the state of the cornerback room right now with the number of injuries we've seen at that position?
We've got 2 healthy ones left.
So is it long-term absences for Zay Frazier and Denver Harris, it looks like?
We're waiting. Could get, as of this moment, we're at 2. It might be a better way to say that. We'll see where 3 of those guys are later this week.
How about for Ken Robinson? Is there an idea of what the outlook for him is?
Waiting on MRI results. Doesn't look good.
When you have some inexperienced players and you're working down the depth chart in the secondary, do you have to adjust defense to operate a little bit differently to try to cover for them somehow?
Yes.
We saw a few guys on defense we hadn't seen previously, guys like Cameron Cooper, Damian Wimberly, Kenny Oswalu, Zechariah Robinson, just to name a few. Is it a case of guys being forced to step up due to injuries, or do you want to make an emphasis to get more steps for some younger guys down the stretch?
No, that's the people that we have left on our roster, and they're out there busting their tails for us. We're grateful.
JJ?
Yeah, you might be a handful of plays away from a few more wins this year. How do you reconcile that with, all that's happened this year?
We were a handful of plays away from losing all those games, year 1, 2, 3, and 4. And those guys on defense have been here and they know all about it. Offensive guys, a lot of new ones out there, so they're learning the hard way, right? Just like those guys learned the hard way our first year where we didn't win some of those close ones. But it's just part of the game. It's college football. It's really hard to win. There's about 10 programs to 20 in the country that have the ability to go out there and just, monkey stomp somebody or beat the heck out of them every weekend. We don't have that here. We have a program that every year we're going to be competitive in games, and it's going to come right down to the very end. And we're just not getting our share right now on the road. At home, we're pretty good at that, but not on the road right now, and that's unfortunate, and there's a lot of reasons why. And that's why y'all hire me to try to fix that, and I haven't done a very good job of fixing that for y'all, obviously.
Greg?
You mentioned the road struggle specifically so far this year, getting another one of those games under your belt this weekend. Is there anything you're starting to see that's kind of become a trend in those scenarios, or why that's been particularly challenging?
When you can't run the ball, it's hard to win, and we're having a hard time running the football. Second, we have too many emotional penalties on defense. Third, we give up too many big plays in the secondary on defense. In saying all that, your offense still has to execute on 4-minute. We shouldn't have tried to run the ball on first down. That was poor by me. Disappointed in myself for not being more aggressive. We did not execute 2-minute offense. I felt great. We got a really good field goal kicker. We had the wind at his back. We needed 8 more yards, and we did not execute that. That's very disappointing. And our 2-minute defense, right now, if we can't sack the quarterback, we struggle getting somebody down.
Yeah, how do you look back at the defensive approach on the final 2 drives against Tulsa to that point? It seemed like you guys played a little bit more conservative than we usually see out of your group.
We lost our entire secondary, Greg. We were trying our best to just hold on back there, Bubba.
And you mentioned the penalties as well. What is the approach in practice day to day to try to iron some of that out, and how does that change as it kind of continues to be an issue through the year?
Can I go back and just be an armchair journalist right now? What would your question have been if we'd have heated him up and been straight man-to-man out there and they would have scored? Your question would have been, why did you leave those new DBs out there on an island by themselves, right? Here's the point of my story. When the crap doesn't work, men, it's on me. End of story. I know y'all got jobs to do. All those questions are very fair. But when you don't win and it doesn't work, it's on Jeff Traylor. That's it, man. I've got to do a better job of coaching defense, special teams, and offense. That's how you win. And we did not do a good enough job. So whether we played too much coverage, not enough coverage, we did what we thought was best for our kids, and it didn't work. So obviously it's a bad decision by me.
The next question was just about the penalties and the way you guys go about that through the week. Is there any change to the process there, or how do you approach it day to day?
It's very frustrating. We got to figure out a way to do it better, obviously.
JJ?
Sorry, Jeff, you mentioned after the game you were your level of frustration. Just how do you move forward in this season, trying to iron some of these things out and try to still stay competitive in these games?
You had to look at it like there's just situational football where we've got to be better. And the hard part is, again, I back up, that we're very used to, since we've been here, hand the ball off on 2nd and 1 or running quarterback sneak, and we can get a yard. And we can't right now. So to figure out how to be a play caller and score points when you can't run the ball the way you're used to running it is very frustrating, right? We've been decimated at receiver with injury. Our tight ends have stepped up incredibly well. Willie and Chris just continue to carry that room. They're healthy, thank God. Very grateful for those two kids. Then on our defense, we're dominant, but we're not, because we're so inconsistent. And I know y'all are frustrated at watching it. You can imagine being up here 100 hours a week like we are, and with these players, and I stand by that. You can question all this stuff; it's all fair. But what you can't question is our kids giving up and not playing their tails off every single week.
Jeff, what's your takeaways on Owen's play overall? I mean, he set the school record and he took some big hits, and just what can you say about your quarterback?
He's basically carrying us right now. He's again, I'm not trying to make a soft bet for the kid, but when you lose your starting center for the whole season, you lose your right tackle for the whole season, you lose your all-conference left guard for the whole season, we're grateful for those kids that are stepping in there busting their tails. And those receivers that are left, they're busting their tails. And he's a young quarterback. He's had to learn a lot on the fly, and he does get hit a lot. And but he gets up and he keeps playing. There's throws he missed. He's sick about missing, the pop to Houston. He's sick about not getting the ball to Willie on the drive, to the 2-minute drive. And that's the exciting part about this. We've got a young quarterback. Our whole offense is young, and they're all executing at a high level. And your fear when you're at a school like ours now is, are the P4s going to come take all your kids from you? And your defense, you're pretty much losing all of them. So you when you're 3-5 and you've lost all these road games, JJ, and it's just such a different feeling. But if we were 6-2, we'd still be having these same conversations. And unfortunately, we're not 6-2. We're 3-5, and we're dealing with that right now.
Greg.
Jeff, you mentioned the extent to which you personally carry the burden for everything that goes wrong within the program. Do you feel pressure to alter anything with your process or operations kind of under that stress right now?
You always are evaluating that. When we're winning all these games, Greg, you're still doing that. That's just part of coaching, man. You're always evaluating. You're always being honest. You're always meeting with coordinators. You're always meeting with position coaches. You analyze everything, whether you're winning or losing. The game's changing always. It's evolving, and you got to evolve with it. And so there's never a time I'm not analyzing that, Greg.
What is your analysis of just the overall level of discipline of the team with some of the issues that continue to pop up, and particularly the penalties that we've talked about, and how do you sort of address that just in a general sense?
Oh, I would say that whenever you have that many penalties, that's a sign of an undisciplined football team, so that's fair.
Is there a way you can try to instill that at a higher level?
Yeah, I'm sure there is, but we're trying to figure it out right now.
JJ.
Jeff, what happened on the 2 special team plays where you had to call timeout? Was that injury or personnel issues?
On the field goal, we just lost our entire secondary, so I didn't know if going up 13 was really going to matter. And I didn't really like our 4th down and 3 call. I thought it was a little long for the call, and then I thought about it, and I just said, you know what, Chris Carpenter will figure out a way to get it. So I just changed my mind, to be honest, and I know that's probably poor because you're probably thinking, man, I can't believe you changing your mind in the middle of a game like that. But that's why you have timeouts. I use those timeouts a little differently when I'm winning. You know, I'll use them a little more. When I'm losing, I hold on to them like they're the most cherished things in the world because I know I'm going to need them, you know, for my defense to get back out there. When I calm my thoughts, I just thought to myself, I'm going to let Chris have a shot. And, man, he made an amazing catch and an amazing first down. If you go back and study the run we had on 3rd down and 6 or 7 on the same drive, oh, we hit it. I mean, it was a gash. And, you know, we cut the wrong way, and Robert feels bad for that as well because he ran his tail off the entire game. But we actually blocked that one up very well. So I had to take the field goal then because it's 4th and so long. I had to get something out of it. So that put us up 13. To answer your question on the second timeout, I thought they were going to try an onside kick. Ball on the 50. Wanted to get my hands team out there. Saw how they lined it up, realized they weren't going to onside kick it. Called timeout just to make sure we were good to go on that. We had to get the ball back and safely, and we did. So I would say both those timeouts, if you were trying to be an armchair journalist, would be positive decisions because they both worked out successfully. And in the end, not having all 3 timeouts didn't matter. We left the game with still 1 timeout in our pocket.
Jeff, you mentioned the mental aspect of the team. What do you think we'll see out of the team moving forward this year?
There's no history of anything other than our guys going to show up and play. Now, sometimes when you play a team that's so physically dominant, you might not see it as us playing hard. And Memphis's roster is incredibly talented. We've got 16 players marked. I don't know if we had 16. I don't know what the number was for Texas, but I know this is the second highest great players we have marked. Many of these players we tried to recruit, and they beat us out on them. Obviously, the FedEx deal for those guys, getting $5 million a season, is a tremendous advantage. And, man, Coach Silverfield has done a great job of evaluating talent and getting talent. A big fan of the quarterback, Seth Hennigan. You know, father is a good friend of mine, head coach at Denton Ryan. He's had an amazing career there. And they're the real deal, man. They're very talented. We'll have trouble. They're good and everywhere.
Jeff, the presidential election is next week. Do you guys make any plans to get your team out to try and get them to consider voting? Oh,
yeah. Well, we've been stressing it. You know, early voting's right here on our campus. We talk about the election quite a bit, try to keep the guys educated so they kind of know what's going on. It's crazy because this time, you know, in 20, it was way more discussed on my team as compared to this one. It's sad, but I think these kids are, at a very young age, already politicked out because there's just so much being said, you know, on both sides. They don't really know what to believe, and I hate that for those kids.
Anything else for Coach Traylor this morning? All right, thanks, everyone.
God bless. Birds up.
Thanks, Jeff.